bridge we have to cross. There is a path from me to you, and after days of feeling lost, I can finally start anew. I feel the silence in my soul. I see the depth in your eyes, and oh my heart, it has been aching, but now it's so full of light. The soundscapes of the night, they whisper in my ear. Hold me tight, my dear. And the soundscapes of the day, will you listen to what they say? Bring me in to the light, let my darkness fade away. The soundscapes of the night, day whisper in my ear. Hold me tight, my dear. And the soundscapes of the day, will you listen to what they say? Bring me in to the light, let my darkness fade away. The soundscapes of the night, day whisper in my ear. Hold me tight, oh, hold me tight, my dear. And the soundscapes of the day, will you listen to what they say? Bring me in to the light, let my darkness fade away. Oh, bring me in to the light, let my darkness fade away. Oh, bring me in to the light, let my darkness fade away. Close your eyes, lay your body down, feel yourself sinking into the ground. 'cause all is one. All is one. The earth, the moon, the stars, the sun. All is one. Still your thoughts, let them be. Find your dream, dive into eternity. Trust your soul, flying free as a bird you can be. 'Cause all is one. All is one. The earth, the moon, the stars, the sun. All is one. And all is one. All is one. The earth, the moon, the stars, the sun. All is one. All is one. All is one. All is one. All is one.
Very special feat.
Jeska, that's exactly what I wanted for my birthday.
It's your birthday.
Yes.
No. No.
Yeah.
Wow. You're also a Virgo.
Mhm.
And my birthday is in 2 weeks and 1 week actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have to come
Tomorrow
back.
in 1 week. Yes, I have to come back.
So appropriate is the title today, Expressing Yourself in Today's World. And I don't know about you, but for me, when I hear Jeska sing, it's so obvious to me that she's singing to the divine. And I think that's such an important recognition to ask yourself in your expression, what are you singing to? In your service, what are you serving? What are you giving? And on behalf of what? There's such a purity within the human expression when the human gets out of the way and says, here I am. What wants to flow? What's there? What's authentic? What's sincere? And with a title such as Expressing Yourself in Today's World, it really points to an opportunity to not do something, but to let life flow. Life's flow is the expression. To simply look at life, to look at nature, you see everything is an expression of the one. Everything is an expression of the one. Are you not also this? You see what happens when you begin to recognize deeply in some capacity that you are an expression of the one? Something within you just kind of relaxes. Oh yeah, that's right. Almost like we recognize all is well. And then in a subtle or obvious way, the one starts to move. It's like, oh, now I can focus. Now I can be present. And we simply offer ourselves to life in service. If you've been paying attention to my Facebook page at all, I've been halfway obsessed with writing recently. And I've been speaking a lot to the play of ego. And in some ways, attempting to bring a sense of equality about this something called ego, to see that it's not something to be judged, it's not something to be condemned. Maybe to just observe what's really going on here, what's true. So often, especially within a spiritual framework, the seeker can look at ego as some major obstacle, that thing in the way. And if I could just get rid of that thing, then I'll be the one. And for all intents and purposes, expressing yourself in the world, yes, in some way or another, the only restriction is an egoic restriction, which is very, very simply an attempt to hold on to who you think you are. And for the one who sincerely investigates this, you look at your own human play, and you see all of your fears, all of your trepidation, all of your nervousness, all of that hesitation that feels a flow but doesn't want to dive into it. All of that noise is looking to protect an ego. And guess what? That's fine. Welcome to planet Earth. It's the only struggle for every human being. You are not alone in that way. And just notice, the more you begin to see that it's the same for everyone, it's part of being human, you start to relax a little bit. It's like, oh, okay, so this is just part of it. Yeah. And the whole thing becomes just a little bit more adorable. It's not a problem. In fact, the expression of ego presents an opportunity to draw you nearer to the sacred. In such a way that from your heart and through your eyes, you can observe the expression of ego with a tremendous amount of love and compassion. You can acknowledge that any disturbance is an innocent misunderstanding. And again, I'm going to draw an illustration of a child that comes to you full of ego. Do you give him a spiritual discourse? Help explain away the ego? No, you see the truth of what's happening. You be still and hold space. You listen, knowing in your heart all is well. Yes, you dropped your ice cream cone and it seems like the end of the world. Let's just hold each other for a moment. See what's really going on here. Do you see the display of ego's confusion, its fear, its pain, is an opportunity for love to be seen? How boring it would be to play out in this experience where love has nowhere to shine. And so, in your human expression, in your journey, I invite a little bit to make peace with this something that we only think is in the way. And to see maybe it's the way. In the same way, a child is not in the way. The child is presenting an opportunity for the way to be seen. I had a moment of inspiration yesterday, and I sent my friend a text message, and I said, you know what? I would just love to get rid of all of my stuff, which is now 2 backpacks, but all of my stuff, and just travel around and just sit in satsang for free, and just sit with people. There was like such a deep sincerity to that says, that's really the only thing I'm interested in. And then after I sent the message, I laughed hysterically because this is such a classic play of the mind's interpretation of desire or inspiration. Do you see in the story being told of, I wish I could sell everything and do satsang for free and just be with people? Expressing yourself in the world can be examined in the play of relationships. You notice how your expression in life is somewhat of a relationship between you and life. And in the play of, for illustration purposes, the play of intimate relationship or romantic relationship or close relationship, the difficulty arises when you're trying to get something. Not realizing that this is to completely miss the point of relating. The opportunity of relating, to be in relationship, is to see what you are. To see what you already are. Which is almost like an offering of what you are. In such a way that the play of a relationship with another human being is an opportunity for you to experience the magic of what you are. And the same with your relationship with life. An opportunity to experience the magic of what you are. And I can promise you that magic is experienced through the allowing of what you are, the sharing of what you are, the giving of what you are. So simple it can be seen that when you share love, you feel love. Whatever you give, you literally give to yourself. Please see that. Whatever you give, you experience what you give. Likewise, do you see that when you're trying to get something or take something, you assume that you don't have it? And so what do you feel? The movement within that comes into this world and looks to get something is a self that sees themselves as missing something. Thus, that becomes your experience. And likewise, if one sees that they are missing something and consequently trying to get or to take something, do you see that if you have an agenda to get something in the future, you cannot be yourself right now? You can't be present. The mind essentially says, you have to be this or this or this in order to get that thing in the future. You can't be you. And this speaks to the frustration of being human. Thinking that there is something in the future that we want. And my goodness, I swear to God, I am the worst person to talk to when it comes to figuring out how to get what you want. straight up show you that you're full of shit. You don't really want that. You want you. You want the truth. You say, if only I got what I want, then I could just be myself. So you want to be yourself. Okay, let's get started. Let's just go straight there. It speaks to this desire within you. And I don't know if it articulates itself this way, but it'll point to it and you'll recognize it. Where something inside of you just wishes that you could disappear. Just notice that. Maybe it shows itself at certain times. I wish I could just disappear. Which is almost like saying, I wish I could just let go. And I invite you to recognize the sincerity of the statement, I wish I could just disappear. And what I would invite you to see is that you have disappeared. You just haven't seen it. That the character within your awareness that seems to be at the forefront, that's concerned about this, 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 and this, and this, that character isn't really there. And so yes, you have absolute permission to disappear. And granted, and this is totally fine, but some minds say, I just want to disappear a little bit. Not totally, but just a little bit. It's like I want to let go of these things, but not these things. And quite naturally, such a game is totally fine to play. But at some point, we're going to recognize that it's an all or nothing sort of thing, as it relates to deeply connecting to the truth of what you are. It's almost like saying, I want the compliments about me, but I don't want the insults. I want to hold on to the compliments. Do you see how if you believe in compliments, you believe in insult? You can't have one without the other. They go together. They're the same thing. It's like when somebody compliments you, the egoic says, okay, this is about me. So I now am assuming that what other people think is about me. So if somebody insults you, fuck, it's about me. And clearly the liberation in that is to see the compliments are not about you. Oh man. They're allowed and they're fine, but is it personal? No. It's impossible. Impossible. Sure, you can make it about you as a way of finding yourself, holding on to who you think you are. but sooner or later it will collapse. It's like you get in a relationship and somebody says, I love you, and then next week they say, never mind. I thought you loved me. Yeah, I thought so too, but guess not. That whole difficulty is the assumption that it's personal. No. How maybe terrifying or liberating it might be to see that every other person's love for you has nothing to do with you. Some people say, oh, good, I can relax. Some people say, no. And if it's true right now, is it possible it's true forever? See, this is the innocence of the egoic movement trying to find itself in the world. I want it to be personal. I want it to be about me. No, it's not about you. You know what it's about? I'm going to use the word God. Some people, no. Any other word but that word. About life itself. It's about this miracle of being. You see, everything that happens, whether it's a bird singing, whether it's a storm, everything, is in service to the truth, so that life can be life. Everything that happens, why is that happening? So life can be life. Why is it raining? So life can be life. Why are some animals doing this and some animals doing that? To maintain a balance so life can be life. Do you see this? Everything is in service to that. So this miracle can be this miracle of just being alive. And what you will notice is none of that is in service to who you think you are. Which is also to say, none of it is personal. If you have gifts, talents, inspirations, all of these lovely things that move through you, what do you think those are in service to? Why is that even there? Is it about you? No. Did you decide to have your talents and your gifts? Or did you discover them? Did you discover what was already inside? You didn't even do that. And you want to take credit for it? No, no, no. And all of these things on the inside that ask from a place of sincerity to be expressed, regardless of what color they are. It's simply life asking for life to be life. And if anything that I'm saying are pointing you to recognize is that whatever flows through you, life is asking for it. Life is asking for your sincerity, for your heart, for your confusion, for your fear. There's a biblical verse in some way or another says Lay your burden at the feet of Jesus. Something like that. That's exactly what this is speaking to. Give everything back to God. Everything. Stop trying to take credit for it. In such a way that your confusion isn't even your confusion. Your doubt isn't even your doubt. Your fear isn't even your fear. It's not personal. And if you think it's personal, you think it's about you, what do you try and do? You try and fix it. How's that going? Not good. These are not things to be fixed. They are things to be honored. And so from a playful space, I invite you to practice this in your life, to see the degree of how it's not personal. Start with looking at the way that the wind moves. Right? It's not an assault. If the weather changes, it's not about you. It's for life. When other people get angry, it's not about you. It's life. When other people say thank you, see that they're really talking to their own heart. They're talking to the one. And then see it inside of yourself. When you say thank you to another human being, who are you really talking to? When you compliment somebody, what are you really complimenting? The divine. And when you insult, who are you insulting? The divine. Maybe, just maybe, all is one. Maybe that's real. And as you see more and more the nature of it's not personal, yes, that can be terrifying because there's an aspect of consciousness that feels separate, wants to validate itself, wants to see itself, wants to be its own thing, that's terrified of disappearing. Understandable. But the truth is still the truth. And the dilemma is not that it's all one. The dilemma is not that it's not personal. The dilemma, if there is such a thing, we're simply afraid that it's all one. Because if it's all one, we lose who we think we are. And so we are afraid of the truth, which often is what prevents us to falling into the truth. Which is really, really funny because there's a profound desire in you to connect with the truth. And at the same time, there's a profound fear in you that's afraid of the truth. So I invite you to see the simplicity of this, that the only thing you actually want in this life, you're afraid of it. Which, if anything, just invites a stillness. To be still and to know that all is well. Any questions? Yesterday I was kind of just watching myself move around the house here. You ever just do that? Like just watch yourself? And it was so much fun to, like, I would watch myself get caught up in story. And this is a fun practice to do while you're meditating. It's like you're meditating, and then all of a sudden you're thinking about last week's argument. Or you're thinking about your plans for next year. Isn't that amazing? It's like you're just sitting there meditating, and then all of a sudden you're gone. You're completely taken over by something that's not even happening. Not even that it's not happening, but it's completely not real in the way that could never actually happen. These stories and these ideas of a separate someone. And so I was watching myself kind of just move around the house and seeing, oh, there's tension here. Oh, okay. What's that about? And every single time there's just this either minor disturbance or agitation or stress or anxiety. It was all saying one thing. I can't find myself. I can't find myself. And then there's an energy, which is almost like violent in nature, that says, I have to go find myself. I have to fix this and do this and solidify this story and that story. And there was never anywhere to go. In the moment that I recognized, I'm trying to find myself, knowing in my being that that's impossible. There's a relaxation that emerges. Oh, that's all. It's not a big deal. Because in those moments of a willingness to observe what's happening is the moment love is allowed to flow. Like to acknowledge what the pain is really about, that I'm scared of losing my self-importance. Love can now go there. But oftentimes what we do is we ignore the sincerity of that. And we try harder and harder and harder. But maybe that's just me and I'm weird. So, I don't know.
It's not just you.
Oh, good. Not alone. Even on my birthday today, I'm 38. I can't even figure out what the fuck that means. What does that mean? Nothing. Nothing at all. Damn it. Maybe when I'm 40. Do you remember that as a kid? Like, it was coming, the next birthday, and something thought it would be different? Especially like at 16 or 18. Something's gonna change. Nope. Still the same moment. And that really speaks to the power of being hypnotized by ideas, right? You think something means something. That's all. What do you find out? Doesn't mean that. I think this says something about me. No. And be cautious of that in your expression too. That's when the ego tries to hijack. Says, ooh, this will mean this about me. Nope. Not at all.
In my life, there was a moment where I really wanted to search for this kind of purpose and this mission I had to do. And then during my life and my actual job, is as you said, I'm just being the transportation of this miracle.
Yeah.
It's not, of course, I'm happy to receive compliments, of course. But at the same time, if something is wrong, and I start to blame myself, oh, okay, it's part. But as you said, it's, if you see ourselves like a transportation, this miracle of life would be much, much easier.
Yeah.
For me, it would look like more to secure myself.
Yeah.
Is that me? Is I'm just doing something for someone else?
Yeah.
It's in the universe, so it's much easier to do it with more confidence.
Yep.
I don't know.
And just notice this, because this is the same for everybody. Any disturbance you have, any agitation, you see in some way you're trying to secure yourself. Right? Make sure next week's gonna be okay, next month, next year. If you're in a relationship and there seems to be a problem, it's the same thing, trying to secure yourself. And we can literally live our whole lives doing that and never get there. And I would just invite you to see that you're never going to get there. Which means you don't have to try. Man, it speaks to such a profound trust. A trust in such a way that you are an expression of the one. Almost like seeing the one can't possibly forget about you, because you are the one. And this is the hypnosis in the psyche, is the egoic sense of self thinks it's separate from everything. And so it has to struggle to survive. It has to make things happen. And that entire world of being separate is completely created in the mind. It's completely imagined. I love this play of just kind of relaxing and trusting that I will know things when I need to know them. I will do things when I need to do them. And part of this too, this is fun. One of the big concerns we have with following that naturalness is we're afraid we're going to piss off other people. Uh-oh. The naturalness of what I am might disturb somebody. Not realizing that the disturbance is part of the divine. Allowing people to be disturbed. Allowing people to not like you. Because again, it's not personal. You can see that in a way, and again, very gently, that disturbance that is afraid of disturbing other people is trying to hold on to that person. It's almost like there's a subtle movement that's trying to make sure they like you. So by not allowing disturbance, you're protecting the ego. Which is quite fascinating, because in that space of allowing people to get disturbed, you'll be much more open to listen to them when they get disturbed. Like, oh, tell me about it. Yes, I hear you. Thank you. You see, the distance or the resistance or the pushing away from the disturbance is to take it personally. Man, I really invite you to see the magic of being disturbed, how it lays a foundation for the truth to be seen. It's like when you really allow somebody else to be disturbed, they have an opportunity to see what that's really about, which only points them towards the truth. Isn't that how you see what you see today? Isn't that even why you're here right now? Because your ass has been disturbed. It leads to a deeper discovery of love. And now we're living a life that tries to avoid people being disturbed. Stop. Like a great example of this is family. My point exactly. And the reason we find that somewhat difficult is because we draw our sense of identity from the ideas of family. Let people have their experience and see the beauty of it. And you'll notice that when you see people get pissed off, it'll transform into the most adorable thing. Because you see, it's not a problem. Let people see what they see. For everything points back to the divine. Release everyone. Not letting them see what they see is trying to turn them into your prisoner. It says, see what I want you to see. Stop it. Any emergency questions before we go back to music? No one's freaking out? Do you see when I say, let people see what they see, and you look at any difficulty you have with other people, and it's not letting them see what they see?
Say that again?
When I say, let people see what they see, and if you look at any difficulty you have in relationship or with other people, there's something in you that doesn't want them to see what they see. Wants them to see something else. Wants them to think something else or believe something else. A friend sent me a message the other day asking about, asking me, don't you find relationships kind of difficult when there's so much nonsense? Like so much confusion and misunderstanding about what's going on. And I said, relationships only become difficult when you have an agenda, when you want something. In the same way, like with family, your relationship with your parents will be difficult if you want them to be your parents. And you see, you wanting them to be your parents is them being an idea. Which is to say, I want you to see me a certain way. Which assumes that they can even see you at all. They cannot. It's so fascinating to sit with people and for them, in a way, to share how they see me and to see how not true it is. whether it's positive or negative. Or it becomes quite obvious, yeah, no one really knows me at all. At all. It's quite impossible. It's like, in some way or another, when you see deeply that nobody else sees you, then you stop wanting people to see you. You just let go of it. And I'll tell you, oh my goodness, if you really want to be seen, and I understand that the fundamental drive shows itself in that way, a desire to be seen, what you're asking for is to see the truth. See, that the mind can distort that desire. Like, in the same way the mind says, I want to be loved. Do you see how the mind turns that into separation that says, I want somebody out here to love me? Do you see really what it's saying is, I want to feel love? Which is also saying what? I want to see love. And naturally, if you want to see more love, look in the direction where you don't see it. Look at all the things that seem to piss you off. Look at the people that you think are unlovable. Look at your judgments. Look at your disturbance. Go outside and say, okay, life, disturb me. Show me where I don't see love. Yes. Yes. You get the opposite of what you thought you wanted. And that's, there's a valid caution in stepping into this inquiry. Because you find out very quickly why you're even in this inquiry. It's like, is there a sincerity that's really looking for the truth? Or are you trying to avoid something? Are you trying to hold on to something? It's like, much of the time when people ask me for relationship advice, it's very obvious they're trying to protect the relationship. They're trying to make sure it continues, which is fine. But they're not asking what's really true here. What's real here? It's a question of, how can I manipulate this other person into being who I want them to be so that I can feel like my future is going to be okay? Give me some advice. And that, again, that's perfectly fine. It's quite necessary for those things to play themselves out. It's like you have to continually experience the pattern of failed relationship to see what relationship is actually about. And everyone is exploring right on time. There's nobody ahead and nobody behind. Life is asking for you to see it where you are. And life says, thank you. And if you notice that movement inside of yourself that's looking to protect, defend, or avoid, get profoundly honest about why. Why are you afraid? And in some way or another, it will be because I can't find myself. I'm afraid that who I think I am doesn't matter. And in some way, you will find out that you are afraid of the truth. Who you think you are does not matter. And so see what you really are. And you will see that you're everything.
Feel the silence, beautiful soul, light and darkness are connected as a whole. Now look up to the sky, my Lord. Look up to the sky. Your struggles, they have been enough. Your worries away, they fly. Feel your heartbeat, wonderful child. You are a diamond of the day and of the night. Now look up to the sky, my child, and see the clouds go by. Let your thoughts and heart be mild. Allow yourself to fly. Look up to the sky, my Lord. Look up to the sky. Your struggles, they have been enough. Your worries away, they fly. Oh, look up to the sky, my child. See the clouds go by. Let your thoughts and heart be mild. Allow yourself to fly. Allow yourself to fly. Allow yourself to fly. yourself to fly. Allow yourself to fly. Allow yourself to fly. Oh, allow yourself to fly. Allow yourself to fly. Okay, last
Whose water is this? I'm gonna drink
Can you hear the silence behind the sounds? Traveling far, it has come to bring you peace. Sit down still and find a space within your soul. In stillness, the light will show. The wind will speak if you just let her in. The trees talk if you are present enough. The sun shines on you even if there are clouds. Find that space within. We practice peace within. Too many fast peace without. We practice peace within. Too many fast peace without. Your peace is mine. Mine is yours. Your peace is mine. Mine is yours. You are a part of this world. You are a part of the whole. Your peace is mine. Mine is yours. Your peace is mine. Oh, mine is yours. the silence behind the sounds, traveling far, it has come to bring you peace. Mm.